This is Charles the Nerdiest reporting for the Nerdiest Podcast on Spotify. In this episode, we will be looking at one of my favorite Marvel teams in comic books, the Guardians of the Galaxy. So the Guardians of the Galaxy, they are a group of heroes that have gone through many changes, many different members, many arcs, many drastic arcs, many not so drastic storylines. When one of your members of your team is a talking raccoon, nothing can get crazier than that. That's pretty much the Guardians of the Galaxy is nuts. If I just could describe the Guardians of the Galaxy is nuts. They are a nuts bunch of really misfits. They are space misfits. They don't match, but they also perfectly match as well. So the Guardians of the Galaxy. So many of you probably know the Guardians of the Galaxy as Star-Lord, Groot, Rocket, Drax, Gamora, Nebula, Mantis. I'm missing someone, and I think that's all of them. From the MCU, obviously, the Guardians of the Galaxy was introduced by James Gunn in the MCU, which my personal take on that, perfection. He perfectly captures the team in those films. They are my top 5 MCU films. But there have been many members, as I said before, of the Guardians of the Galaxy, other than the main MCU team in the comics. So there's obviously Adam Warlock, there's Nova, Richard Rider, is that his name? I think so. You got there has been the original team with Charlie 47, I believe. No, it's not 47. 27? I'm not sure what his name is. You got Quasar, you got, Captain Universe in some, Cosmos, the dog. So this team has seen a lot of different members and a lot of changes over their run of the years. They've even had Doctor Doom join them at some point. So, this episode, I wanted to do something really interesting. So, I have been reading Guardians of the Galaxy since 2022, which may not seem like a long time, but it actually is. And I'm still currently reading Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know how many times I'm going to say Guardians of the Galaxy this episode, bro. But I'm going to be saying it a lot. And I'm going to be tongue twisted, bro. Anyway, I have been reading Guardians of the Galaxy for a while, and I have been asking myself this question: which member of the Guardians of the Galaxy do I like the most? Which one is my favorite out of all members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, whether that be the MCU members, or the comic members, or someone who a guest appearances in the Guardians of the Galaxy, as they have crossed over many times. Guardians of the Galaxy love to cross over with the Avengers, with, other space teams. They love it. They even crossed over with Angela, but I wouldn't class Angela as a Guardians of the Galaxy, because she's obviously an angel. But, regardless. In this episode, I am going to go through every single member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, give you my thoughts on them. Well, I'll go through all the main ones, because we'll be here a while if I go through every single person who was in the Guardians of the Galaxy who ever existed. yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I am going to give, and then at the end of this episode, I am going to give you my overall favorite Guardians of the Galaxy member. If you haven't read Guardians of the Galaxy before, this may be an episode for you, because I will be giving some comic book recommendations, and it may be an opportunity for you to figure out more about your favorite Guardians character from the films. So say you watch the MCU films, really loved, let's say, Drax, but you haven't read any Drax comics. And to be honest, there isn't many Drax comics, but he is present through a lot of Marvel cosmic stuff. So he was heavy in Annihilation, in the Annihilation War. He had his own comic series during that event. Or say you started playing Marvel Rivals, and you really liked Star-Lord, the character in that game. And you thought, I want to read some comics of this guy. Where do I start? What's he like in the comics compared to the movies or compared to the game? So let me tell you a little story of how I actually got involved with Guardians of the Galaxy. Very similar to what I just said. So I started playing Marvel Rivals when it first dropped. Loved the game, loved the character roster, and I was trying to figure out who I wanted to who I wanted to play as. There were so many characters I wanted to play as. You got Venom, Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, all these great characters from Marvel, iconic characters. But as I was trying them all out, one character really spoke to me. Well, no, two characters really spoke to me in gameplay-wise. I really digged how they did Star-Lord, Peter Quill. They made his gameplay super fast, but also sort of like, you have to know what you're doing to play him. He's kind of easy to play because he just rolls around. He's very similar in gameplay to Cassidy from Overwatch, or McCree, whatever one you want to say. Cassidy from Overwatch. So I used to play Overwatch, and I used to play McCree in that. So I really fell in love with Star-Lord, and I wanted to read. Obviously, I wanted to read a Star Wars. That's not. I mean, I would read a Star Wars comic, but I wanted to read a Peter Quill Star-Lord. I wanted to find more out about this character. So I went online and I looked up some best places to read Star-Lord, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And funny enough, I've got this book, which I'm looking at right now. Obviously, you can't see, you can only hear me, but Guardians of the Galaxy by Al Ewing. It's like a trade paperback of all his Guardian stories. And on the back it says, once they were a team of misfits, now they're a family, and they've earned their peace. But the universe is not a peaceful place, and it's only getting worse. Someone has to guard the galaxy, and for their first mission, the Guardians of the Galaxy must grapple with the vengeful gods of Olympus. Meanwhile, everyone thinks Peter Quill is dead, but instead he journeys through a mystical world on the other side of reality. So this is a book heavy with not just Guardians. It has Nova, Magneto, Doctor Doom, as I mentioned earlier. Did I say Nova? Yeah, Nova's in this. I love Nova, dude. He's so cool. It's got Wiccan, it's got Hulkling, and the group of misfits, Guardians, are very similar to the MCU. So I like to say there's Guardians books pre-MCU and post-MCU, and you can see pre and post really like clear as day. So if you're reading a pre-MCU Guardians book, Drax would be green, Rocket would look more like a rodent and less cuddly. He would look like a sort of older guy, not like how he looked in the MCU, kind of young and cute in some ways. Peter Quill would have brown hair in some stories. And he would obviously look less like... Oh no, sorry, I got that wrong. So, post-MCU, Peter Quill is commonly given brown hair. Not all the time, though. I guess that's kind of a bad one. But Gamora would have yellow around her eyes. Gamora in the pre-MCU is actually gray, or like a very deep green. But the character that really speaks to me about pre and post MCU is Groot. I could talk about Groot for days. He's the GOAT, honestly. But basically Groot's design, I would say they, he's not a he or a she, he's a they in the pre-MCU. MCU kind of set him up as Vin Diesel, I guess, but he was considered in the comics before the MCU, before James Gunn's films of Guardians. Groot was depicted as this queen of the what's his planet called? Like Colossus? I don't know what it's called, but the Guardians were forced to protect him, and he was sort of snobby, I guess, in a way. But anyway, I don't want to get off track. I could talk about Groot for ages. He's a really great character, really. But yeah, so, the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, the main members, we have got Drax, Gamora, Star-Lord, Rocket, Mantis. Mantis always gets forgotten. Groot. And I always feel like I'm missing someone out, but I think that's the main cast. And then you've got I'll say, semi-Guardians. This consists of Quasar, which is like this cosmic girl. I would say Moondragon was a Guardians for a long period. Nova obviously was a Guardian for a while. But you could say that about pretty much any character that crosses over into the Guardians. But the main ones, are Peter Quill, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Gamora, Mantis. I probably missed out a few. But that is the main group. And so yeah, let's get into some of the characters. Let's talk about, who should we talk about first? There's so many. They're such a great team. They're so unique. Let's talk about the main man himself, Peter Quill, first. So, as you know, he was depicted in the MCU as Chris Pratt. Funny, goofy, but also charming, charismatic, strong. Not so much cosmic, but sort of like a Han Solo type. Whereas in the comics, he's sort of considered, he's definitely a Han Solo bounty hunter type, but he's more like respected and less sloppy, I guess. I don't know. Less goofy. I think the comedy of Chris Pratt obviously was a comedian, I feel like. But, yeah, so, Peter Quill. His design is really great. He's just a normal guy amongst these monsters. You've got Drax, who's green, Rocket, who's a talking raccoon, a talking tree, a green lady, and a girl with antlers who can read minds. I still feel like I'm missing someone. I don't know. Maybe the ship. He's this normal dude who travels space with, a weird roster of friends, but he does consider them friends, which is really, I think, speaks to his character a lot. Originally he was a human. He ventured into space to, his origin changes a lot, but he ventures into space to avenge his mother, who was blown up by the alien race that, I forgot what they're called, but yeah, his mother was blown up, basically. And he went into space. The way he goes into space changes all the time, and I can't quite remember, but he does end up in space. Sometimes he works for NASA, sometimes he just, because it's the future, he just ends up in space. A human in space with all these, a talking dog, a talking raccoon, it's makes for a really great dynamic. Him as the leader as well, a leader of Drax, who's this, sort of stone cold killer who doesn't stand for nothing. He's like the masculine of masculine men. And this goofy human is in charge of them, which is the whole joke, right? But Peter Quill speaks to the whole group. If you look at the whole group from a bird's eye view, he is the human. He is the human of the group. He is the glue of the group. He is the glue of the Guardians. If I would say this in a heartbeat, if Peter Quill never was a part of the main Guardians team, they would either have knives at each other's throats constantly, or would already be dead, because he is the leader. He is the human that they need. He humanizes the Guardians. He humanizes Rocket. He humanizes Drax. He humanizes Groot as well. And they all pay him in other ways, pay him back for, he teaches them how to be human, emotions, and caring for people. And the Guardians pay him back by obviously being in his team. So, it's a really cool concept of having a human with aliens. And the human is helping the aliens become human, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't make any sense to you, but hopefully it does. And hopefully I'm not talking too fast either. His mask is so cool. I really want an in real life version of Star-Lord's mask. Him being the leader, that is such a great writing choice as well, because, like I said, he's the human. It doesn't really make sense for a human to be a leader of a space cosmic team. At some point in the comics that I have read, Star-Lord admits that he used Mantis to mind control the rest of the Guardians into actually joining the group. So they were being held there against their will, basically. And when they found that out, they all disband and leave the Guardians. And that's a nice concept for, well, it's not nice, obviously. They will leave Peter Quill with this immense guilt of breaking apart their friend group, which is not nice, it's not a nice ending at all. But it shows Peter Quill actually cares about these beings. He cares about Rocket, he cares about Groot. He wants this team to work, even if he uses Mantis to mind control them into thinking they wanted to be there, obviously against their will, but it just shows that he is the team. He is the Guardians. Without the Guardians, Peter Quill doesn't belong in space, right? So I think that's a really nice one. Oh, we gotta talk about Bug as well. I will talk about Bug. Bug is a semi-Guardian. He's sort of a Guardian in the original 2000s, early 2000 comics. But anyway, Peter Quill, great character, great mask, great, sparky dialogue, written really well, and performed great in the MCU. That is Peter Quill, leader of the Guardians. Let's go into another character now. Who should we go on to? Let's go on to Peter Quill's love interest, which adds another dynamic to Peter Quill, but also to the love interest, Gamora. Gamora, in the comics, in the original comics, pre-MCU, she wasn't really a love interest of Peter Quill. She was just there to... So if Peter Quill spoke up and became too leaderish, too bossy, she would spark back, and she was sort of like this mysterious grey lady in the corner with a massive dagger and hood. She would just be that aura farming alien that nobody wanted to mess with. They have, Star-Lord and Gamora have some witty banter, and obviously that evolves into the MCU where they actually admit their feelings for each other, and then in Volume 3, obviously that get changes, but yeah. Gamora in the comics, as I said, is this badass alien, grey, hood, dagger. In the MCU, she's exactly that, but she's green. And she's performed really well as well. But the dynamic of the love interest between an alien and a human, it's like Beauty and the Beast reversed, right? Roles reversed. So it's Peter Quill's the Beauty, and well, I wouldn't say Gamora's the Beast, because she is a beast, but she's not like ugly or anything. but you know what I mean, right? So like they can't be together because obviously one's an alien, one's a human. But they do love each other deeply. And obviously that's a big problem for Gamora, because when your dad's Thanos, you can't really do a whole lot without him getting mad and destroying half the planet. So that's another complex. It's like a complex after a complex after a complex, and it just builds and builds and builds until eventually it bursts, and either their relationship or their lives get thrown away. I'm going to be talking about an annihilation war. If you do not know I can't talk, bruh. If you do not know what I'm talking about, I will tell you. Annihilation War is a cosmic event in the Marvel cosmic scene where all cosmic characters, Star-Lord, Drax, all of the Guardians have to fight Annihilation, who is this massive bug who has a hive mind of 1 billion other bugs. He destroys planets, he destroys the Nova Corp, he destroys anything that he can is in his way of power. So he wants to be the all-powerful being of space, and they have to take him down. The Annihilation War Omnibus is a great start for getting into cosmic Marvel. I will say though, if you want a brief on the characters beforehand, maybe get a few Guardians trades, because there are a lot of Guardians characters in the Annihilation War Omnibus, such as Drax, Star-Lord, Nova. But it is a great omnibus, and such a great collection as well. I won't spoil the end, but the ending is pretty cool, and it leads into another book, which is Annihilation Conquest, which I have to pick up because I haven't read it yet, and I'm excited to. Anyway, we were talking about Gamora. In that book, Gamora, in Annihilation War, Gamora fights Ronan. Ronan has to... I'm trying to remember. Ronan was going to be recruited by the Rebel Alliance against Annihilation. Annihilus. His name is Annihilus. But yeah, Gamora appears in that. She's gathering female friends. I know that sounds really weird, but she's trying to build her own team outside of the Guardians. I think this is before the Guardians even become a thing. She's considered this witch, and she's demented and a witch, and she's cast away from everyone else in this little cave, and it's a really cool depiction of her. I love the way that they built upon Thanos and Gamora's relationship in the MCU. I thought it was brilliant. And yeah, her design is really cool. She's green, she's grey. She's just, I think being green is really crazy because she's mean, but she's green. So you can't even like be mad at her because she's green. You feel kind of sorry for her. That is Gamora. She's pretty cool. Her dynamic with the team. Now, her dynamic with the team is something really special because she may look mean. She is mean, but that's a bit too harsh because she does love the team. She loves Rocket. She loves, especially she likes Mantis. I feel like her and Mantis's friendship is like Star-Lord's and Nova's in a way because they're like so similar, but also so different as well. That is Gamora, daughter of Thanos and love interest to Peter Quill. Next up, I'm going to be talking about, let's talk about, I want to get all the main ones. So let's talk about Mantis, actually. That's a great character. So obviously Mantis in the MCU, very similar to her comic counterpart, actually. Mind reader, green mind reader, strategist, and her dynamic with the team is the mother of the team, I guess you could say. She heals people with her massive heart, and she reads minds, but she's not evil with it. She can be evil, but she chooses not to be. She is probably the most cosmically powerful guardian of the galaxy. Because she can read minds. That's a pretty nice trick. And yeah, she has some really great moments. She also appears in Annihilation War, I believe. But yeah, she is sort of like the most human out of the Guardians, except for Peter Quill. I will say this about Peter Quill though. He, in the MCU, there's a scene where he meets Spider-Man and Iron Man, and they're talking about how human he is, and he says 50% of me is human, and I agree that the 50%, he's 50% human and 50% alien from being human, because he's been surrounded by, his friends are literal aliens. Imagine your friends being aliens for so long. That's gonna drive you nuts, and you're gonna change. You're gonna adapt, right? You're gonna become alienated from your human self. Which I think is cool. I wish they explored that a little bit more within the MCU. Him maybe like, I don't know, drinking slugs or something. Something weird. But yeah, he is a human in space. It's not going to be easy for him to stay human for long. But Mantis, I would say Mantis is more human than alien. She looks most alien out of all of them. She's got antennas on her forehead. But that doesn't make her alien. She is a very mature character. The mother of the group. She shepherds the group, protects them. She's a mind reader, but she uses it for good most of the time. And like I said, she's the most powerful in the group, in my opinion. Her relationship with Gamora, again, friendship-wise, is very good. Damn, I just love the Guardians. They're just such a unique spin on a team. I love how they've turned out with the MCU and everything, so that's great. But yeah, Mantis, love the character, love the design, well written most of the time. And yeah, that's enough about Mantis. Let's get into Groot. So I talked about Groot earlier for a bit, but Groot is he's the dumb one, but he's also the I wouldn't say he's dumb, actually, that's kind of harsh, but he is kind of like, he's a talking tree, and a lot of people don't realize that he's way more than that, especially in the comics itself. He's way more than that. He is a really interesting character because he obviously appreciates being in the group, doesn't like being left out, has these feelings and stuff for Rocket as a friend, and his design changes throughout the comics. Like, literally, if you think the films were bad for his design changes every panel. It's hard to draw the same tree over and over. But if I wanted to talk about Groot, I would talk about Groot Rise and Groot Fall, a Guardians of the Galaxy series by Langsing and Kelly. I think I got that right. I don't know. It's a mini-series where Groot becomes the Guardians disband, and Groot becomes this out of control cosmic being in space, swallowing planets. It's a bit insane, but it's really cool. It's super stylized. It's got the MCU team in it with some cameos as well. Yeah, it's really cool. It's got Nebula in it. Nebula is also a very not talked about enough Guardian. But this book series shows Groot as a being I don't really know how to talk about it, how to say it. Like, it just shows him as more than being just a tree, which I appreciate, because he is more than a tree, especially to the Guardians team. He is way more, because he is an actual member of the team. And he's the one that is like underrated, and then he gets a whole splash page of himself, and it's like, whoa, this is the coolest page of the whole book. Wow, awesome. Yeah, Groot is awesome. Do you know who's more awesome? Rocket Raccoon, the talking raccoon with a snarky attitude. Rocket Raccoon is awesome because he is a talking raccoon. That's his main appeal, right? He's the comedy note, and that's very clear in the comics, because every chance they get, they write him as saying a joke, which I appreciate, because it's in the MCU. That is interpreted? What is that? He is written the same way. He's a comedian in a way. He's the light-heartedness of the group, and he's also the machinist of the group, and he's also like the Chewbacca. I'd say Groot is the Chewbacca, but Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon share the Han Solo like personality. Just Raccoon shares the fur of Chewbacca. But yeah, he's the comedy note of the group, so if there's like a depressing moment, you need to uplift spirits, he will just crack a joke that makes no sense, and say flark every 5 seconds. He's also great because he projects the audience. If there's something crazy going on, he asks a question our audience might ask, and then they can explain it more. So it works that way. He's not the smartest out of the group, but he's personally one of my favorites. He's not the favorite. The favorites at the end. But he is one of my favorites, for sure. And yeah, he has his own miniseries that I haven't read yet by I think it's Scotty Young. I've got to check that out. But yeah, that is Rocket Raccoon. Now let's talk about Drax. Drax the Destroyer. His name, let me just see here. It's Douglas something. So he was a human. So the most unhuman one out of the Guardians, who's lost all his humanity, was once a human, which I think is beautiful because it just makes so much sense to do it that way. And so, if you've seen the MCU, you know he's grey. He's sort of like this grey-blue. I really like his depiction in that, and I hope and pray that they add him to Marvel Rivals as a tank. We need him as a tank, please, bro. But yeah, Drax is one of the most underrated, for sure, because he has a daughter called Moondragon, and he's trying to come to terms with being his past self. So basically, the story with Drax is what I've read so far is that his name was Art Douglas, and he has faint memories of being Art Douglas, but can't remember it all. And so Drax, he's tormented by his past self. He doesn't know if it's real or fake. And Moondragon, she has the same issue because she's haunted by a dragon, or a dragon-like being who has an evil persona inside of her. So she's trying to suppress that, and so is Drax, because Drax, he has very bad anger issues. He can lash out in like 5 seconds and go crazy, but yeah, he's the most human. He's the most non-human human, you know? Because he isn't a human anymore. He's Drax the Destroyer. He's green. He's lime green with red stripes everywhere. And he has a constant memory of a life that he never remembers living in. So imagine being tormented by having that life stripped away, and then remembering, and then can't remember living it. That's just so depressing. It just goes to show how mentally strong you'd have to be to do that. The MCU depiction of Drax doesn't go much into his past, because obviously I don't think Drax himself in the MCU knows much about his past as Art Douglas. They may have mentioned it once or twice, I just can't quite remember. If they did mention it once or twice, I'd have to know, because that would be so cool. But yeah, Drax is really interesting. One of my favorite Guardians. On that note, which is my favorite Guardians member? Actually, no. That's too early. You almost got me. Let's go into some semi-Guardians members. So there's let's say about 4. So we got Adam Warlock, who was a member of the Guardians during the during the War of Kings era, where he goes evil and he gets sort of in a bit of an issue with some religious cult. He is the man that wants to do good. He has a pure heart. He is the perfect species, but he is so imperfect as well. This is why I want to talk about Guardians. They are so imperfect. If you think about the MCU, Warlock, he is clumsy. He is so imperfect, but he himself thinks he's perfect. He's this narcissist. He's overly narcissistic, because he has been told his whole life that he's perfect. And when you've been told your whole life that you're perfect since you were young, you would believe it, right? So he thinks he's perfect, but he's probably actually kind of not, you know? He's just fully gold and looks perfect on the exterior, but on the interior, he's not all that smart. Which I really like. I really like that dynamic of him In the comics, he kind of is smart. He kind of is perfect, which I kind of didn't like, but at some moments he was kind of, like, stupid and did some bad decisions. But yeah. I haven't read much about Warlock. He was only in a few issues of Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm looking forward to learning about him more. Up next, we got one of my favorite characters in Marvel. We got Bug. Bug is the he is the character that is basically what his name is, Bug. He is a bug. He is basically a human bug. He's got antlers. He is on all fours. He climbs walls, spits at people, whacks people, bites people. He is a human bug. Humanoid bug is the best way to describe him. And he wasn't a member of the Guardians for that long. He was a member of the Guardians during the Annihilation Conquest Star-Lord miniseries. I love his design with the green and the three-fingered glove with the spear and the arachnid eyes. Go look at Bug's design and you will love it. Love it. Then we've got also another two semi Guardians. Captain Universe, who has many hosts, basically a cosmic star being. I don't really know much about him, but he's pretty cool. He can fly and blow up things, so he's awesome. Then we got I can't quite say the name. Deathery? I think that's how you say it. Who is like this Wolverine berserker extreme character. So she's like Wolverine but without the human. Like she's a full berserk. It's not metal claws, but she's like Wolverine. She's not a Wolverine, you know? So yeah. Her name's Deathcry. My bad. An extraterrestrial youth born into the royal family of the interstellar Sia Empire. Wow. Cool. Yeah, also awesome. Another semi-guardian was Cosmos, who was the talking dog. She was a she in the MCU. It doesn't really matter because it's a dog. Cosmic dog for that one. And yeah, I like that one. I don't really know what else to say about a talking dog. There's probably a lot more to the character. 100%. But yeah. So yeah. Let's talk about my favorite Guardians of the Galaxy member. So that's every single main Guardians of the Galaxy member and then some, right? So we got Gamora, we got Drax, we got Rocket Raccoon, we got Star-Lord, Groot, Mantis, and Bug. So out of those main Guardians of the Galaxy, I would personally say that my favorite Guardians member will be... Oh, it's hard, dude, because I love them all equally. I love Star-Lord, I love Rocket, I love Groot, I love Drax, I love Gamora, and I love Mantis. I just love how they work as a team and they're dynamic as a team, if you know what I mean. Like, they wouldn't be as good if they were separate. I mean, they'll be alright, but they're not as good, you know? If I'm reading a Star-Lord book and I'm like, missing something, it's because I'm missing Drax and I'm missing that banter between Rocket Raccoon and Star-Lord, you know? But I don't clickbait, so I'm gonna say my favorite Guardians of the Galaxy member will be Star-Lord. Because he is the human of the group. He shows their growth. He humanizes the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's why he's my favorite character. That's why he's the GOAT. And it's Peter Quill. He's super snazzy, he's super quirky, he's super cool. If you've read any Guardians, let me know your favorite character by DMing me on TikTok. I want to know. I want to talk about Guardians with some people. If you want some Guardians of the Galaxy Rex, let me know. L.E. Wing's Guardians of the Galaxy run is super cool. It started off my passion for Guardians of the Galaxy. But there are also some Marvel Epic Collections Guardians of the Galaxy books that are also a great collector's item. There's Groot Fall, there's Groot Rise. If you want specific character Rex, also let me know, because I could possibly do that in the future. If you want me to talk about Annihilation War, let me know, because I will do that. And yeah, this is episode 2 of Nerdiest Podcast by Charles the Nerdiest on TikTok. I hope you enjoyed me blabbering on, and I hope I ain't boring you and talking too fast and overstimulating you all. But that's episode 2. I'm really digging the podcast. I really like talking, getting it out of my system so I don't end up spending hours and hours editing down a 20-minute video to a 4-minute video on TikTok, because that's what I end up doing half the time. So it's like a nice release for me, you know, in a weird way, in not a weird way. Wait, whoa. The Guardians of the Galaxy. I could talk about this for hours and hours, but I'm not going to bore you anymore. This is episode 2. I think I said that already, but I'm going to go now. I don't have an outro, so I'm just going to say, see you in episode 3, hopefully soon, next week, possibly. Let me know if you want any topics for me to cover, because I will talk about anything, as you probably know. Okay, this is Charles the Nerdiest, out, and thanks for watching for this long.